1. Having a firm purpose. In a world filled with constant noise, distractions, and pressures, having a firm purpose is like discovering a compass in the middle of a storm. Without a clear direction, we drift through life, easily thrown off course by criticism, failure, or fear. But when you establish a firm purpose, you create an anchor for your mind, a foundation that keeps you steady no matter what life throws at you. Epictetus emphasized that difficulties reveal a person's character. And the greater the obstacle, the more honor in overcoming it. Your purpose isn't just about professional goals or personal milestones. It's about identifying what you truly stand for, your values, your guiding beliefs, and the kind of person you want to become. This requires honest self-reflection, a willingness to examine what matters to you on a deeper level, beyond what society expects or what others define as success. Once you've found that purpose, you must commit to it. Purpose isn't something you stumble upon by chance. It's crafted through discipline and sustained focus. It becomes your reference point when you're tempted to give up, when you're criticized, or when challenges seem overwhelming. Instead of reacting emotionally or being shaken by setbacks, your purpose helps you respond with intention and clarity. Think of it as a guiding light in the darkness. Life's chaos may continue around you, but with a firm purpose, you remain unshaken, grounded in something far deeper than circumstance. This is the heart of Stoicism. Choosing your path with wisdom and then walking it with resolve. It's not about controlling everything around you, it's about mastering your response, staying true to yourself, and living each day with meaning and integrity. 2. Control your mind and emotions. One of the most powerful lessons in Stoic philosophy is the ability to control your mind and emotions. In a world filled with chaos, stress, and unpredictable events, the Stoics remind us that the true source of our distress isn't what happens to us, but how we interpret and respond to it. You don't need to suppress your emotions, but you must learn to master them so they don't master you. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of them. That means your reaction is always within your control. Whether you're dealing with anger, anxiety, or disappointment, the first step is awareness. When you pause and observe your thoughts without immediately reacting, you create space to choose your response rather than being driven by impulse. Training the mind is like strengthening a muscle, it takes daily practice and small habits. Set achievable goals, reflect on your emotional triggers, and learn to respond rather than react. With time, you'll find that situations that once rattled you now pass with little disturbance. You're not being cold or indifferent, you're becoming calm, composed, and steady. This mental discipline also includes being intentional about what you expose yourself to. Protect your mind like you would protect your home. Don't let toxic media, negative people, or unproductive thoughts take up space. Instead, read things that challenge and inspire you, engage in meaningful conversations, and surround yourself with those who encourage growth. Mind control isn't about becoming robotic, it's about gaining freedom from emotional chaos. When you know how to center yourself regardless of what's happening externally, you become resilient, confident, and unshaken. That's the Stoic ideal, to be inwardly free even when the world outside feels turbulent. Control your mind, and you take back your life. 3. Guarding your mind. Your mind is your most valuable space, and like any valuable space, it must be protected. In today's world, where negativity, distractions, and toxic influences are just a tap away, guarding your mind has never been more important. Stoicism teaches that the quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. If you allow harmful inputs to flood your mind, whether it's gossip, anxiety-inducing news, or energy-draining people, your inner peace will always feel out of reach. Guarding your mind starts with awareness. Be intentional about what you consume, both mentally and emotionally. Just as you wouldn't let trash pile up in your home. Don't let mental clutter build up in your thoughts. Set clear boundaries, limit exposure to toxic environments, distance yourself from harmful relationships. And choose your media and entertainment wisely. Every piece of information you let in is either feeding your growth or undermining it. But protecting your mind isn't just about avoidance, it's about replacement. Fill your mind with what elevates and empowers you. Read books that deepen your wisdom. Spend time with people who challenge you to be better. Seek conversations that inspire growth, not gossip. Engage in mindfulness practices that strengthen your mental clarity and help you stay present. The mind is like a garden, what you plant and nurture will grow. If you plant fear, doubt, and envy, don't be surprised when those take over. But if you cultivate patience, resilience, and perspective, you'll find peace even in chaos. Stoic thinkers like Epictetus remind us that we become what we repeatedly focus on. So if you want to build an unshakable life, start with your inner world. Ultimately, guarding your mind is an act of self-respect. It's choosing not to be a passive victim of external noise but an active curator of your mental space. When your mind is clear, focused, and protected, you're not just surviving, you're thriving with purpose, clarity, and strength. 4. Handling criticism with calm and strength. Criticism is an inevitable part of life. Whether it comes from coworkers, family members, or strangers online, it's something we all face at some point. But how we respond to it, that's where the real power lies. Stoicism teaches that it's not the words themselves that hurt us, but how we interpret them. When you have a strong sense of who you are and what you stand for, criticism loses its ability to shake you. Epictetus reminded us that we cannot control what others think, say, or do, but we can always control our response. When someone criticizes you, pause. Instead of reacting defensively or emotionally, take a moment to ask yourself, is there truth in this? Is this something I can learn from? Sometimes feedback, even when poorly delivered, contains valuable insight. And other times, it says more about the critic than about you. The Stoic approach is not about pretending you're invincible or that you don't care. It's about developing emotional maturity, the ability to remain composed, patient, and kind, even when someone challenges you. This means building resilience, not by shutting out criticism, but by choosing how much weight to give it. Self-awareness is the foundation. When you understand your own motivations and values, you no longer need validation from others. Their approval, or disapproval, doesn't define you. You're not living to meet someone else's expectations, but to stay true to your own principles. Also, practicing empathy helps. Ask yourself, what might this person be going through? Are they projecting their own insecurities? This perspective can transform anger into understanding and help you respond with grace instead of resentment. Criticism is not your enemy. It's an opportunity, a mirror showing you where you might grow, and a test of how solid your inner peace really is. With the mindset of a Stoic, you can face judgment without fear, and stand tall with quiet strength. 5. Transforming offense into inner strength. Feeling offended is a natural human reaction. When someone insults you, disrespects you, or questions your values, it's easy to respond with anger or resentment. But Stoicism offers a powerful alternative. Instead of letting offense control you, you can transform it into an opportunity for growth and inner strength. The Stoics teach that it's not the offense itself that causes suffering, it's how we interpret it. Epictetus reminds us that what truly disturbs us isn't other people's words or actions, but our judgments about them. Once we realize that, we reclaim control. Rather than reacting impulsively, we can pause, breathe, and choose a response aligned with our values. This space between stimulus and response is where personal power lives. One of the most practical techniques to handle offense is reframing. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Is this challenging me to be more patient, more confident, or more aware of my boundaries? Even when someone is wrong or unfair, the way you respond can either reinforce your peace or destroy it. When you consistently choose restraint over reaction, You build emotional resilience, like a muscle that gets stronger every time you use it. Practicing empathy is also key. Consider the possibility that the person who offended you may be struggling with their own battles. Hurt people often hurt others. This doesn't excuse bad behavior. But it helps you detach emotionally and avoid being dragged into negativity. And perhaps the most liberating Stoic practice of all, forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook, it's about freeing yourself from the weight of bitterness. When you forgive, you stop letting the offense live rent-free in your mind. You choose peace over pride. In the end, every offense can become a stepping stone. Instead of letting it define your mood or your self-worth, let it strengthen your ability to rise above. That's the Stoic way, not cold or indifferent, but deeply disciplined, self-aware, and free. 6. Overcoming fear and shame. Fear and shame are two of the most powerful emotions we experience, and left unchecked, they can quietly control our lives. But Stoicism teaches us that these emotions don't come from the events themselves, they come from how we interpret those events. Epictetus famously said, "We are the ones who assign meaning." Which means we also have the power to take that meaning back. Fear often arises from the unknown. We imagine the worst possible outcomes, failure, rejection, humiliation, and allow those thoughts to paralyze us. But when we break fear down rationally, it often loses its grip. Ask yourself, what exactly am I afraid of? What's the worst that could really happen? And if it did happen, would it truly ruin me? Most of the time, the answer is no. The Stoic response to fear is not to run from it, but to face it with logic, preparation, and courage. Shame, on the other hand, tends to come from within. It's the voice that tells you you're not good enough, smart enough, or worthy because of something in your past. But Stoicism reminds us that we are not our mistakes. We are what we choose to do with them. When you reflect on shame with honesty and compassion, you give yourself the chance to grow. Instead of hiding from your imperfections, you learn from them and move forward wiser and stronger. Forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, is essential here. Carrying shame is like walking with a heavy stone on your back. You may still move, but everything feels harder. When you forgive yourself, you release that weight. You're not saying the past didn't matter, you're saying it won't control you anymore. Both fear and shame lose their power when brought into the light of awareness. With patience, reflection, and practice, you begin to see these emotions not as enemies, but as teachers. They show you where you need healing, growth, and courage. And when approached with the mindset of a Stoic, they become tools for transformation, not chains that hold you back. 7. Anticipating obstacles, premeditatio malorum. Life rarely goes according to plan. No matter how carefully we prepare, challenges, setbacks, and unexpected turns are inevitable. But Stoicism teaches us not to fear these obstacles, instead, we're encouraged to anticipate them. The practice known as premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, is a powerful Stoic exercise that prepares the mind for life's difficulties before they happen. It's not about pessimism, it's about mental resilience. Epictetus and other Stoics believed that if you imagine what could go wrong in advance, you're less likely to be overwhelmed when it actually happens. For example, before a big meeting or important decision, take a moment to ask yourself, what might go wrong? Will there be delays, criticism, miscommunication, or unexpected stress? By visualizing these scenarios calmly, you shift from surprise to strategy. When you anticipate obstacles, you're no longer reacting blindly, you're responding with intention. You train your mind to stay grounded when others panic. You become flexible, prepared to adjust rather than collapse when plans change. This mindset doesn't make you negative, it makes you strong, adaptable, and ready for anything. Anticipating challenges also helps cultivate patience. When you know setbacks are part of the journey, you're less likely to give up or become discouraged. You see frustration not as a failure, but as part of the process. This long-term mindset builds inner strength and sharpens your perspective. But this practice isn't just about preparing for external problems, it's also about recognizing your internal reactions. When you visualize obstacles, ask yourself, how might I be tempted to respond emotionally? Will I get angry, anxious, or discouraged? And what response would align better with my values? Through reflection and regular mental rehearsal, you create a buffer between the chaos of life and your inner peace. You're not caught off guard, you're composed, alert, and clear-headed. In doing so, you embody the Stoic spirit. Not one who avoids difficulty, but one who meets it with quiet strength and foresight. 8. Building inner strength. Inner strength isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. In the Stoic tradition, true strength doesn't come from dominating others or avoiding hardship. It comes from mastering yourself, your emotions, your reactions, and your mindset. Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you that matters, but how you respond. That response is where your power lies. To build inner strength, you must first develop self-awareness. This means taking the time to understand your emotional triggers, your fears, and your patterns of thought. When you recognize what causes you to react impulsively or feel defeated, you can start to change those habits. It's not about suppressing your emotions, it's about learning to observe them without letting them control your actions. One of the key Stoic distinctions is between what's within your control and what's not. You can't control what others say, think, or do, but you can always control how you respond. That simple shift in focus gives you a sense of clarity and confidence, even in the middle of chaos. Instead of wasting energy on things outside your influence, you invest it into developing resilience, patience, and calm. Another aspect of inner strength is forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness. Holding on to guilt, resentment, or anger only weakens you. When you forgive yourself and others, you free up emotional space to grow. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's courage. It's choosing peace over pain, clarity over confusion. Gratitude is also a powerful tool. When you train your mind to focus on what you have rather than what you lack, your outlook shifts. Gratitude fuels resilience because it reminds you that no matter what challenges you face, there is still something good worth holding on to. Lastly, seek strength not just from within, but from your environment. Surround yourself with people who support your growth. Engage with ideas and communities that reinforce your values. When you nourish your inner life, you become someone who stands firm, not because life is easy, but because you've trained yourself to stay grounded when it's not. 9. Restraining actions and choosing deliberate responses. In a world driven by impulse and instant gratification, the ability to restrain your actions is a mark of true strength. Stoicism teaches that wisdom isn't just about knowing what's right, it's about choosing to act with reason rather than emotion. Every day, we're faced with moments where it's tempting to react instantly, snapping in frustration, speaking without thinking, chasing short-term pleasure at the expense of long-term growth. But restraint, calm, conscious self-control, is what separates the reactive from the wise. Epictetus and other Stoics encourage deliberate action, rooted in awareness and purpose. Before speaking, ask, is this helpful? Does this align with my values? Before making a decision, pause and consider the consequences. Stoicism is not about inaction, it's about intentional action. You're not avoiding life's challenges. You're choosing to face them with composure and clarity. This discipline applies to your habits, your words, and your emotional reactions. In heated conversations, for example, restraint means not allowing anger to take the wheel. Instead, it means stepping back, breathing, and responding in a way that strengthens your character and relationships. Over time, this practice builds emotional intelligence and earns you respect, both from others and from yourself. Delaying gratification is another vital form of restraint. The Stoic understands that true fulfillment comes from long-term goals, not from indulging every passing desire. Whether you're working toward a personal milestone, saving money, or practicing a new skill, resisting the urge for quick results is what leads to lasting success. Mindfulness plays a key role here. When you're present and aware of your impulses, you can interrupt them and choose a better response. Reflection also helps. Look back at your day and ask where you could have shown more patience or self-discipline. Ultimately, restraining your actions doesn't mean suppressing who you are. It means becoming the kind of person who lives with intention, measured, thoughtful, and aligned with a higher purpose. In doing so, you gain control not only over your actions but over your entire life. 10. Acceptance and living according to nature. Acceptance is one of the most liberating principles in Stoic philosophy. It doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive, it means facing reality with clarity and courage. Life will bring setbacks, loss, uncertainty, and change. The Stoic approach is to meet these moments not with resistance, but with understanding. When we fight against things we cannot control, we waste energy and create unnecessary suffering. But when we accept what is, we free ourselves to focus on what we can influence, our mindset, our choices, and our actions. Epictetus taught that we must live in harmony with nature, not just the natural world around us, but our own rational and social nature. This means recognizing our role as thinking beings capable of making wise, ethical decisions. It also means embracing the flow of life, with all its ups and downs, rather than expecting it to follow our personal plans. Change is natural. Loss is natural. Imperfection is natural. When we align ourselves with this truth, we stop expecting the impossible, and start living more peacefully. Living according to nature also involves practicing acceptance of others. People are imperfect, just like us. Expecting them to behave exactly how we want only leads to frustration. Instead, the Stoic chooses empathy, patience, and understanding. This doesn't mean tolerating mistreatment, it means seeing others as fellow humans on their own difficult journeys. Gratitude is a powerful companion to acceptance. When you shift your focus from what's missing to what's already present, your entire perspective changes. You start to see beauty in simplicity, joy in small moments, and peace even in hardship. Gratitude grounds you in the present, which is the only place you can truly live. To live with acceptance is to live with strength. You're not escaping life, you're fully engaging with it, eyes open, heart steady. You no longer cling to rigid expectations or fear what's beyond your control. Instead, you adapt, endure, and grow. That's what it means to live according to nature, and it's one of the deepest paths to lasting peace and fulfillment.